the meeting?
I think it's about the same, but.
Really?
So roll call, everybody's present.
Shirley Gone.
Mark Cameron, present.
Travis Baker present. Minutes for April 3rd, 25. You guys got a chance to read those?
A little bit, yeah.
I approve.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes for April 3rd, 2025.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. Executive Director report. Okay, you're it.
Thanks. Not much has happened since we met 2 or 3 weeks ago, but the numbers did go up on the wait list for the family, elderly, handicap, and vouchers. We do not have any available units as of right now at Winthrop Terrace. There are 2 units that are vacant, but they're we're doing work in them. So we have 2 waivers, so we're at 100% occupancy. Keys Road and West School, same situation as 2 weeks ago. 1 vacant out of 2 units at Keys Road with 1 waiver, 100% occupancy. And West School, we're still doing the paperwork on that. We have 5 vacants out of 6. No waivers because that's process different, it's federal. 16.67% occupancy. I added a pending items section on my report for you guys based on things that I said I'd get back to you on at our last meeting. So the sump pumps project was pending a warranty inspection. That was inspected by MEA, no issues, and the project was completed. And then another question you had was what was the new AAGA occupancy percentage after we moved in for at least those 3 units using that preference. So our goal for elderly handicap is 10.8% minority units. We've reached, since those 3 police ups, we're at 5.08%. So we went from 0 to 5.08%. In family, the goal is 26.3, and we're still at 0. So we haven't released anything there. I wanted to just show you, we have charges and fees for residents here for certain things like, so everything that is not normal wear and tear, we charge the residents for repair. Previously, for example, for an interior door repair, we charged $50 to $100. Replacement, a minimum of $120. We've just changed that to reflect current market rates. This is the same, we've had the same rates for 4 years, since 2021. So it was time to make some adjustments. There's not that many. Most rates stay pretty much the same. The screens went from 50 to 75 for replacement of the framing screen. Did you guys get a chance to look at that? Or did I go through?
Yeah.
Lighting went up to $100 for light fixture replacement. So only a few things were changed on here to reflect new pricing. And this is anything beyond normal wear and tear. Of course, regular things like things that just go bad are at no cost to the residents. I am not requesting a vote on any of this. I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention because I will be sending a letter to the residents explaining these new rates. I just wanted to get input. Do you have any suggestions or?
The only thing that came out fairly glaringly to me here is the addition of the heat pump, mini split replacement for the nicotine, $6,000, is that correct?
Yes, so when we've had two move-outs where the mini split, like, unit
Mhm.
was just wasted, useless, you have to throw it out and buy a new one,
Mm.
and that's how much it costs. The reason why we've added that as a charge, and this would probably be at move-out, unless it just completely dies and the resident is going to stay but needs a new one.
Mm.
This is damage caused by smoking in the unit, which is not allowed.
Right. No, and I think, just for clarification, just as a reminder, I mean, I'm not a smoker, I'm not a smoking advocate, there's no smoker's right advocacy here. It's just that there is a recognition that people have the habit and
Yes.
or addiction, and I would call it an addiction, I think we owe it to ourselves. And again, not that we shouldn't recoup these, but if we can present it to our residents in a way that's just, it's both in your health interest and in your financial interest, to make sure that we're not violating, because these things do get found. I mean, it's just cause and effect that we get there. It's I'd just like to make sure that we're on the right tone
Absolutely.
with individuals. I'm not a real punitive guy, my approach isn't a stick. Okay, can we get to an understanding, and it only gets to a point when people we just want to, kind of be defiant. But it's a community, and if we can just kind of live that way, that's all. And I just hope it's, for those that are affected, or those we know who have the habit or the addiction, that we kind of, can we inform and kind of go through, and even if there's an example of one of the old units, this is your lungs on
I have two of those.
cigarettes. So, my 2 cents, that's it, thank
No,
you.
I appreciate that, so
Okay.
definitely we will address those concerns and explain as best as we can, and
Yeah,
probably even show the residents who are concerned what those look like, since we have two of those up right now.
yeah.
If anyone wants to take a look at
Sure.
those, but that's,
Do we want to?
if the unit went bad for any other reason, we're not charging
Okay.
the resident anything, if the unit just needs to be repaired for whatever reason, that's not caused by misuse, then
And if I might, that kind of brings up a follow-up question. Do we know the years these units were installed?
I
And
think
do they
that's-
precede any of the individuals who are residing in them now? And how do we, is there a proportion to those who are immediately leaving versus, hey, there were 4 tenants prior to me between the years of 1978, that unit was still there, and me, and how do we assess that?
That is a great question. I think these have been up for 4 or 5 years.
At least,
Yeah.
Maybe not.
And your life expectancy is 10 years.
Okay.
So the condition that we've seen, the turnovers, at least it's not 4 or 5 years of regular wear and tear. It's unusable for the next tenant. We try to make, when we turn over the units, we try to make the apartment pleasant and
Sure.
livable for the next person coming in, and you can't keep, so I don't think we've kept a unit that's been damaged to that point for a new resident. We'd have to buy a new one for about $6,000.
Mm.
Excuse me? I can't hear any of you.
Oh.
Just a little louder.
I'm so sorry.
That's not your fault, we're just getting older. Sorry.
Anything, any question has to?
Yeah, I have a question pertaining to the ED. These tenants that their unit isn't, the air conditioning and the split isn't, now their family has to pay that $6,000.
If the
Yeah.
It would go into collection, it's
It would
probably
more likely go
uncollectible.
into-
It's probably, we're never gonna
That's what
see
I
that
thought.
money, yeah,
Yeah, but how about if they just move out,
right.
and then you find one of the units?
So we do a move-out inspection with the tenant.
Yeah.
So at that point in time, if there is an issue, we will address it. If we are planning on charging them for that, then we will, and I'm sorry through the,
Yeah, no, you're the one to answer it, so.
thank you. If that were an issue for that particular tenant who's moving out and you're alive, you're just going somewhere else, we'd let them know, this unit is no longer working, this is something, it's on the move-out form that they're going to be
Is there a way that
signing.
you can, don't wanna say replace it, but you could clean it so they can use it again instead of,
So this is beyond that. If it's
Oh,
damaged
okay.
beyond that.
oh, all right,
Yeah.
thank you.
And again, just to bring, and I don't wanna beat a dead horse, it's just kinda glaring, that's all. It would be, boy, if I were a resident, I'd be like, I didn't see this on my way in, now I'm being assessed it on my way out. And sometimes we're human beings, what is the cost of my actions? Well, I mean, if I'm speeding, will I take the chance knowing it's a $35 ticket versus, hey, you're gonna get locked up? I probably won't speed if I know I'm gonna get locked up, if you know what I mean, it's a $6,000 charge if I'm smoking in my unit versus when I came in, there's a smoking violation that I might be assessed. And again, I don't wish to sound weak on anything, I just wish to be fair on the information and what are the conditions and where am I moving into, my individual habits, and then what I'm going to be assessed on the way out. And again, I'm not a smoking fan, I'm not a smoking rights advocate, I think it's horrible, I could never do it, maybe I'm just jealous. But I just wanna be fair, I just wanna make sure the character and the environment which we set is, everybody's fair with everybody. Hey, if you did something wrong, you knew it, and, but that's all I wish to be. So this is new, this is the old one, this is the new one. Does anybody here who resides here currently, did they know that coming in that this might be an issue? And is this something we may have to, again, at the pleasure of the board, whatever the makeup is, whenever a vote may come to solidify or codify this, would it be something that all new residents coming in are notified of this and then going? Again, I know we assume something there, but again, fairness sometimes costs. Is that just fair?
Okay, absolutely. So existing residents have the old one, and this changed in '21. So at some point, some residents have seen multiple of these
Okay.
changes over time, if they've lived here long enough. So this one, the old one is the 2021 adjustment. So any new move-ins, well, the current residents are going to get this letter that I included in the packet for you with
Yeah.
the new charges and fees. So the letter letting them know, due to cost of living, rate adjustments, et cetera, these are the new fees, this is, what you'll be charged for, et cetera. It will be in the packet for new tenants moving in. And the residents that have been here long enough to see multiple of these will know that, there's definitely, but we're also available to answer any questions for them in the office 4 days a week, but,
I'm assuming new residents are given this as part of the leasing process.
yes, so once we implement this, which it has not yet, I wanted to just get your thoughts like this, thank you for that, before we send this out to the residents. But they're all going to be getting this letter with the new fees, and then the new residents will get this in their move-in packet. So this will be the first fees notices they'll see, they won't see what the 2021 are.
Can I just add that, first of all, there's a no smoking policy anywhere in the apartments. We're supposed to be law abiders and set examples as elderly people, number one. And number two, a few years ago, when this was becoming an issue, it was mentioned that if anybody was suspected of smoking in their apartment, there was a little robot thing that they could bring in the apartment and judge and test to see if there had been smoking in the apartment. If there was, the tenant was gonna be offered to go to a program and try to quit smoking. If they went along with that, all well and good, but if they refused and they continued, then there was gonna be a possibility of an eviction. So I think, like you're saying, with the newer tenants, I don't know if they knew about that hopeful process, if it did continue, but the opportunity was made and had been brought to people's attention that that would be done. And I think it's only fair. I'm not a smoker. My husband died because of it. My kids smoked, quit, and I'm so proud of them because it smells so bad, number one. Got sick of washing yellow walls. And it's like, you don't realize, I don't think people really realize what it does to their body. It ages them to the high heavens. I'm gonna use that first. But it's like, it just destructs so much, and I've seen my friends not going on oxygen. And it's just very sad to see what it does to a person over the years, if they live so long to enjoy their life.
But that history is important, because it says, what do people know? That was my reaction, we understand there's some rules, but what are the causes? So if we can get these, I guess, out, and our residents are initially, they receive and understand, I think that's kind of a step in the right direction. Forgive me.
I would say that in the policies for the housing authority, it's been a non-smoking indoors policy since at least 2012 that I have seen in the files. The 2023 edition was off property entirely. So, I mean, realistically, I don't see who would be here prior to 2012
Good to know.
that
Yeah.
wouldn't know they shouldn't be smoking inside.
So what we'll do is I'll include for the fee changes, on the letter to have residents sign in return saying that they have received this, they acknowledge. And then that way also, if they have any questions when they come to bring that in, they can ask.
It allows us some documentation that we did go through this with you, and you understood what was,
Absolutely.
what,
I appreciate that, yes.
I think the only comment I'd have on it is when you look at like some of the things like lighting, kitchen, it has costs of item and labor. But then down at the bottom, extraordinary damages to sheetrock paint just says $100 minimum. So I don't know if it makes sense to add on to that, materials and labor.
So that should be at cost, $100
Oh, okay.
minimum. Thank you for that, pointing that out. So that's like if there's someone punched a hole in the wall, the price could vary. So we're letting them, it's gonna be whatever
Go from
the
anything
cost
from a patch
is.
to having to replace half the wall.
Right. But the minimum, so if it's gonna be at cost, except if it's under $100, we're going to charge at least $100.
Yeah.
So I will add that at cost, does that,
Yeah, that's
okay.
what I was thinking, was something like that.
Any,
lastly, promise, at least on this.
that's what we're here for today.
So, dog poop went from 20 to 50. I mean, so it's more than double for number 2.
So like you said, with the AC
Okay.
units, it's a way to get people to
Okay.
pick up after their dog.
No.
If you know you're gonna pay $50, pretty much no changes, but I'll run down the projects very quickly. The replace stairwell, VCT, still in bidding process. The inspect and clean community, that one actually, both invoices were just approved, so to pay the vendor the $2,002, I think it was, plus the equipment purchase of $532, for the, drain cleaner machine, was approved as well by EOHLC, so they'll be sending those funds.
Nice.
The replace parking areas and driveways still at the schematic design stage. The new construction, waiting on 50% of construction documents. Vacancy preparation unit turnover, that one we're still working on the request for quotes. So we're putting together, our second request for proposal, because the amount, like I said, of everything we received was over the threshold, over $10,000, so we're using a completely different system, using Combis, literally through the state, so. The fire alarm upgrade, waiting on approval of the schematic design. We spoke to someone, recently about this, the designer, had some questions on it, so I know they're working on it, it's moving forward. 540 Keys Road, they're waiting for the design to be submitted. The parking areas and driveways, waiting for the design review and approval. We've added replace siding, and that's going to be handled by RCAT, who was here this morning. The designers have been assigned, and they've approved a budget of $72,600 to replace the siding. And then we're going to be using project 318-096 for unit turnover on unit 44B, which needs to be completely redone. The budget approved for that was $59,500, and the designers have also been assigned, so we are moving forward with this.
And we may have gone over this last meeting, forgive me for not keeping it in my memory carousel, so. But on the replacing siding, the scope of that work is this property,
Yes, sir.
not the other properties?
No.
Just, okay, that's the siding.
Yeah.
And then, is that unit, again, I think I would have remembered this one, but 44B, is that here also?
Yes, sir.
Is there an extraordinary issue there? $60,000, I mean, just, I don't know the history,
I'm
so I'm just
happy to
asking.
show it to you, yes.
Yeah, well, I think I asked for maybe a tour of the properties, but I thought I'd wait till after the local elections, because maybe I don't need to be bothered with your time to take me through, depending on the outcome, but I
Don't
would
say that.
afterwards, yeah, okay. So there's,
Yes, I'm happy to show you even today if you have time. Some of the units, we've had people that have lived in them 10,
Certainly.
20, forever.
Mhm.
So by the time they move to a care, what do you call that? Care
so
facility.
there's sure,
Care.
assisted care, yeah.
Something like that. It's in pretty bad, a lot of the people are smokers, and again, just like you, I don't hold that against them.
No, no, no,
You know, it's
Not
hard
yet.
to
We
kick
will
that
now,
habit,
though.
I know. It's a hard habit to kick,
Yeah.
and we are also looking into the different programs, as we discussed at our last meeting, to try to implement or facilitate, give access to our residents to these programs. But yes, that's how much the project coordinator, who came in, looked at everything, took the pictures, brought it down to the designer, said we would need pretty
Excellent.
much for this.
So
Thank you.
hopefully the designers don't take as long as like, you know, the parking lot. 'Cause
Thank you.
Thank you. So any questions on my report, on any parts of it at all?
I got none.
Thank you. So then, oh, you let me know if you can financials.
Yeah, I'll
sure this will be, we see each other a lot over the next couple months. But pleasure being here, and the first thing I just want to go over with everybody is obviously, does everybody have the treasurer's report as of March?
Yes.
Okay. First and foremost, just want to let you know that this is kind of just a draft treasurer's report at the moment. I just was with Janny for about an hour or so prior, just asking her a bunch of questions and getting caught up, and there's still some more cleanup work to be done. But this gives a pretty good overview of where the housing authority stands as of March 31st. Okay. Total cash on hand was about $187,000. The tenants' accounts receivable, one thing to note, just moving forward, is at one of the next board meetings we'll have, and I'll have Janie kind of present and everything, is we'll have to write off some vacant balances. There's about $2,100 in the 667 accounts receivable of vacated balances, and then the largest one is under the West School, on our tenants' accounts receivable, about $7,200 of vacated balances there that we'll obviously ask for the board's approval to write those off.
So that's like uncollectible, right?
Correct, yeah, I think some of it goes back to like 2021 on some of them, so it's been long overdue to kind of just finally get those off the books and records. Next thing is laundry. There was about $1,113 collected for March. The laundry balance as of March 31st was $2,234.63. And then the modernization section, just one thing I want to go over here on this section, just for the board to understand. The first one where we show invoices paid, not reimbursed, that is a line item where the housing authority has paid a contractor and waiting for reimbursement from Boston to receive those funds. At the moment, we have none, which is great, all right? And the line item right below it, reimbursements received not paid, those are money received from Boston, but the housing authority still owes those vendors. I just spoke to Janie about two of them. She'll be looking into them to see whether or not why the contractor hasn't reached out to us, or were they paid with some other check number that in prior past accounting they did not post it to the modernization fund. So then we on our side would just do a reclass entry for those items and bring that to current so we can get those off. Any questions so far?
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
the project, so like looking at this, project 400, I'm assuming is Winthrop Terrace.
Correct, that's correct. That's 667 in the 705 units outside of West School.
Okay,
The 705 1A is West School,
okay.
okay?
So I mean, otherwise it looks like we're in good standing.
Yeah, and when I say draft too, is there's gonna be a lot more coming too, because obviously, I'm gonna work with Janie closely on some things. Is there are obviously inter-program funds due or owed between each program, okay? And obviously, we're getting up to speed on all the accounting, and what we ultimately wanna do is maybe every quarter, or once a year at least, balance those accounts out. So if the Section 8 program owes the 400-1 program $50,000, because the 400-1 fund actually pays all the bills, including all programs, right? So we want to just get that kind of situated for you all and us, just to really give a good understanding where the cash balances are for each actual program.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So you're trying to set up a sheet where we can see the logical progression of funds flowing
Well,
through?
I would like to just, for my purposes and as most importantly, you all, is that, when you look at the cash balances, let's say at the end of the quarter, or at least at the end of the year when we present the year-end financials, you know how much cash the 400-1 program actually has on hand at that time, versus saying, hey, well, they have the 40,000, but technically Section 8 owes us 50,000, so the cash balance is really 90, right? We wanna kind of just get those transfers done really quickly.
Yeah.
To get that situated, so you know exactly where the cash balance stands for each program. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Anything else, Travis?
I can't think of anything.
Okay, couple updates, obviously, as you know, Janie and I, we've been working hard on a lot of things. My goal is obviously to have the budget a revised budget for you all to present and go over. Unfortunately, we have a lot of questions still. I still gotta make a couple phone calls on things, so hopefully tentatively by, let's say Tuesday of next week, I will have the revised budget done. And I don't know if Janie mentioned anything to you, but I don't know if we could maybe have some sort of special meeting at some point, once that's completed, to really do a full budget presentation, go in deep in detail on what everything is, and then obviously an approval, so we can resubmit that to EOHLC for their approval, okay?
Good idea.
So yeah, we're still working on all that stuff. One thing to note, we did already file the Cap Hub reports, the quarterly reporting, which is due at the end of May, that's already been submitted. The quarterly financials, obviously, those are due at the end of May as well. Once the budget is done, we can finalize January, February, March to ultimately enter those in. Then we can also present those quarterly financials at the May meeting for you all. And then once those are accepted, we can then submit them on time. So that's what's kind of really going on right now for Warren Housing Authority from our side.
If I might, so do you see any, just quick ask and just tell me, you sound fairly confident in the numbers and what you're looking at, what you're presenting. Is there anything that's glaring that says, hey, we're deficient either as an accounting system, or deficient structurally, or financially?
Not from the accounting system, obviously there's just more training, like today I just talked to Janie about paying, like obviously the deferred comp over, and just obviously things that, she's learning every single day, every single week on kind of in, what her responsibilities are, and just obviously we're here to help and, say, hey, here's another thing, let's tackle it together. And then the only other thing that I would say, from the financial side of things is, and I just talked to Janie too, is the West School, right? Getting all that paperwork, Janie's already done a good job of getting everything, to get that contract rent in from HUD.
Yeah.
Because as of right now, the other programs are really subsidizing, any expenses over there.
Yeah, that's a shame, I just drove by there.
Right.
Whether it's federal or state, we just know there's vacancies and people in need, and it's not part of your report. I'll reserve my follow-up question for later.
Just once again, if you look at the treasurer's report, right, the West School right now, the one unit, we're only collecting $190 of rent, right? Obviously, if that's monthly, there's way more than, I would assume, correct me if I'm wrong, than $190 worth of expenses. And that's why we really need the HUD contract rent to come through to really offset some of that. Also too is, this is kind of a segue into the inter-program, right, to also make sure the other programs get whole on what they've been paying out for West School.
Right.
Okay, but that is a great question, but those are the only two things. Anything else from the financial side of things?
Are you looking for an acceptance here, or any formality from us on the acceptance or receiving these, or are we waiting until the special meeting?
I was hoping we could, table item 5B, for the special meeting, since we have not been able to finalize that. There's still a lot more to
I would make that
look
motion
into.
to table 5B till next meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Alright. Yeah, I'd probably say once you guys have the report, or the, budget done, let us know, and then we can work out setting that up, cause don't wanna set a date for it and then have something.
Oh, absolutely, no, 100% agree with you, 100% agree. But hopefully the goal will be is, once the budget's done, we can quickly go through all the three months, get everything updated, and also present the quarterly financials at the same exact time.
Nice.
Oh,
Just so
Yeah, that'd
we
be great.
can use your time, very wisely.
And I did want to point out, this is the revision of the budget that was approved at our December meeting, because it's been kicked back multiple times for different things every time, so, this is
And we
something,
don't receive anything from the state till
right,
they approve it, so.
Technically, you're operating under the prior year's budget until this new one gets approved.
and we gratefully did get an advance, it's in the account. I'm excited, we can pay some bills. So I sent you like 3 bills Right, your signature stamp, that would be so.
Alright, so then,
You wanna move to five
C.
C?
yep,
Okay, so I did receive confirmation from the employee who was due the insurance buyout. The 2024 buyout has been paid with only tax withholdings, not retirement withholdings. So that's how it's mandated to be paid out, and that was done through payroll, so it's in the payroll records. If anyone ever needs that in the future, there's record of it in the payroll. And then the employee agreed to accept bi-weekly payments with their payroll for the 2025 year. So we'd have to do any pay periods starting the first
back
of
pay from the
January.
It's
beginning
called
of the
retro
year.
pay, yeah,
Yeah.
you retro pay them back for that amount.
And then in every
Other
Paycheck,
following
every-
paycheck.
he'll have that extra $192 minus
Yeah.
tax
Taxes.
withholdings.
Alright.
I'm fine with it unless there's
No,
an
no.
opinion that counters.
No, it's great.
Seems like it's comfortable both for the employee and for us.
Yeah, the biggest thing to get it on that bi-weekly, on your really payroll cycle is because we've had some housing authorities where they pay out,
Mm.
like, let's say in March, and the employee leaves in June.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
no,
And then what are you gonna do? Hey, by the
Yeah.
way,
You owe us a bunch of money.
well, what they would normally do is, hey, we know we have to pay you out from your vacation accrual, it's X, but we gotta recoup what we've already paid you on this, and then the employee goes, what, and it creates a whole other,
Yeah.
side of things that you just don't really need to know or need to run into, when if you're paying them on a weekly or the bi-weekly basis, if they terminate next week, you've paid them
Right.
accordingly up to what they should have gotten their prorated amount for the buyout.
And I think the only other option we were just threw out, if they wanted, doesn't sound like they did, I don't even know why I'm bringing it up then, but that's me,
No, but it's good.
was that it would, potentially, if, like a forced savings, if the individual wanted to kind of hold to the end of a year, he's already worked it and accrued it, and we would just reimburse, but
Yeah.
he or she has made their decision, that's fine, and as long as we're fine.
Well, this makes it easier for
Yeah.
next year too, cause,
Certainly, yep.
you know, especially if they change the rate for next year, then
Yeah.
we just need to adjust the rate in payroll versus
Correct,
go through this all over again.
You got it. It just makes it a lot easier, and also too, is there's no really, what I like to say is, right, there's no really thinking every single week, did I forget the insurance buyout for something, or whatever, it's there, it's set,
Sure.
and then the only thing you have to do is, once again, is change the rate if you need to.
And what is the language for the vote that you'd like us to take on this action?
So I'm requesting a motion to distribute the insurance buyout for 2025 in bi-weekly payments as accrued.
I make a motion that you use the buyout for the insurance as bi-weekly for the year 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
And that's right, the lump sum has already been paid,
For 2024.
so we're all, okay.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, a small lump sum for
Understood, yep.
so far this year.
And, I only, I'm gonna have to get an email from you later, but in the original warrant, I only had a few bills, because again, we're trying to keep
Yeah.
cash flow, I learned that the hard way. Being that, EOHLC has deposited, some funds to help pay with to help with paying the bills, we were able to get some more in there. So I don't know if you want to do just what was on the initial warrant, or if you'd like to take a quick look.
So we're going from eight items to 13 items. The
Right.
original 8 will remain with the additional 5.
So instead of like 7,000, it's 13,000.
Yeah.
It's basically paying double bills.
So Comcast was going through 2 pay periods, correct? I saw that, okay. Do we know anybody at the town of Warren? Can we just forego that one for?
I think we might, I don't know.
I don't know, I heard they're difficult to work with.
You don't have to worry, Kate. I can clip it later. Thank you. Doesn't have to be super urgent.
So next meeting, we're gonna hold it outdoors.
Really?
So Mark said he's gonna make a motion, we hold it outside.
That would be great.
Right.
I'll bring my glasses.
leaves comments, I believe. Alright.
That's comments, how about complaints?